Lieutenant Jack Mason stood at attention against the wall of the massive crystal chamber. His eyes scanned every corner, every shadow, and every movement. That was his job as head of security for this diplomatic mission. The room glittered with strange lights that bounced off the alien architecture. It was beautiful, but also made his job harder. Too many reflections, too many blind spots. The human delegation sat at a long table across from the Zarthians. These insect-like aliens towered over humans with their 7-foot frames and shiny exoskeletons that changed colors with their moods. Jack had been briefed about them, but seeing them up close still amazed him. Commander Olivia Wright led the human team. Her calm voice filled the room as she spoke about trade agreements and peaceful cooperation between Earth and Zarthia Prime. Jack admired her confidence. This was humanity's first official meeting with the Zarthians, and everything needed to go perfectly. "We believe this agreement will benefit both our worlds," Olivia said, sliding a data tablet across the table. Queen Vexala, ruler of all Zarthians, reached forward with long, delicate limbs. Her exoskeleton shimmered with blues and greens that the briefing material said meant interest and thoughtfulness. The Queen's multifaceted eyes seemed to look everywhere at once. "Your proposal is most intriguing," the Queen said, her words translated through the small devices everyone wore. Her actual speech was a series of clicks and chirps. "The Zarthian collective has much to offer Earth, and it seems Earth has much to offer us as well." Jack shifted his weight slightly, fighting the urge to scratch an itch on his nose. He had been standing in the same position for nearly 2 hours now. The other security officers were positioned around the room, trying to blend into the background while remaining alert. A Zarthian servant entered with drinks for everyone. Jack watched carefully as the drinks were distributed. Protocol said the human delegation could accept the beverages, but should wait until their Zarthian counterparts drank first. Small cultural differences like this could make or break diplomatic relations. As the meeting continued, Jack noticed one of the Zarthian guards near the far entrance behaving oddly. The alien seemed tense, its exoskeleton flickering with quick flashes of red. Jack tapped a silent alert on his wrist communicator, signaling the other human security officers to be on heightened alert. "We would be particularly interested in exchanging medical technology," Queen Vexala was saying. "Your adaptive immune responses are fascinating to our scientists." Olivia nodded. "We would welcome such an exchange. Human medicine could benefit greatly from understanding your regenerative abilities." The suspicious guard moved slightly, and Jack noticed something in its hand. Years of training and instinct kicked in immediately. The shape was unmistakable across species, a weapon. "Down!" Jack shouted, already moving. The room erupted in chaos. The guard raised its weapon, a plasma projector, according to their intelligence briefings. It was aimed directly at Queen Vexala. The other Zarthian guards were too far away to reach their queen in time. Jack didn't think. He acted. 3 long strides and a leap carried him directly into the path of the weapon, just as it discharged. A beam of searing blue energy struck him squarely in the chest instead of hitting the queen. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. Jack felt like his insides were on fire. He collapsed to the floor, vaguely aware of shouts and more weapons fire around him. His body armor had absorbed some of the blast, but not enough. Not nearly enough. Queen Vexala's face appeared above him, her eyes shifting rapidly, and her exoskeleton now a deep purple color Jack hadn't seen before. "The human sacrificed himself," she said, her translator making her voice sound surprised and concerned at once. "For me." Jack tried to speak, but could only cough. Something wet and warm came up, and he knew that was bad. The Queen's guards formed a protective circle around both of them. "Stay still, human," the Queen said. "Our medical team approaches." Olivia pushed through the guards, kneeling beside Jack. "Lieutenant Mason, hold on." She turned to the Queen. "Your Majesty, we need to get him medical attention immediately." "He will receive our finest care," Queen Vexala said. Her voice had changed, becoming formal and ceremonial. "He has invoked the Zelthoran by his actions. The life debt is now in effect." Jack didn't understand what that meant, but it seemed important from the way the other Zarthians reacted. Many lowered their heads in what looked like respect. "What is happening?" Olivia asked, confused by the alien's behavior, even as she pressed a medical patch to Jack's wound. "Your warrior has activated our most sacred tradition," Queen Vexala explained. "He took an attack meant for royal blood willingly. By our oldest laws, I now owe him a life debt that cannot be broken. He is Zelther now fate-bound to me and to the collective." Jack's vision began to darken around the edges. The pain was fading, which he knew wasn't a good sign. He heard Olivia speaking urgently into her communicator, requesting emergency evacuation. "No," the Queen said firmly. "He cannot be moved to your ship. Our medical technology is better suited to treat plasma wounds. And now that he is Zelther, he falls under royal protection." Jack felt himself being lifted onto some kind of floating platform. The last thing he saw, before losing consciousness, was Queen Vexala's face, her eyes fixed on him with an intensity that seemed to look into his soul. "You will live, Jack Mason of Earth," she said, switching to using his name. "And from this moment forward, your life is bound to mine by the oldest laws of my people." Jack wanted to ask what that meant, but darkness claimed him before he could form the words. As he slipped away, he heard the Queen speaking to Olivia. "Your mission came seeking diplomatic ties between our worlds," the Queen said. "You have achieved far more than that today. The Zelthoran has not been invoked with an off-worlder in all our history. When your warrior awakens, everything will change." The sounds of urgent movement surrounded Jack as he floated in and out of awareness. Zarthian medics worked over him, applying technologies he couldn't comprehend. Strange lights pulsed against his skin. Cool liquids flowed into his veins. Through it all, he heard the Queen giving orders, never leaving his side. Even in his pain-filled haze, Jack realized something momentous had happened. He had come to this alien world as a simple security officer, following orders and doing his job. Now he was something else, something called Zelther. His final thought before completely losing consciousness was that taking a hit meant for someone else was nothing special. It was what any good security officer would do. He didn't understand why these aliens were making such a big deal about it. He would soon learn that the life debt tradition of the Zarthians had only just begun. Jack opened his eyes slowly. A strange blue light filled the room around him. He tried to move, but found his body felt heavy and distant. The ceiling above him was made of some kind of shimmering crystal that reflected the light in patterns he had never seen before. This wasn't the medical bay on the USS Endeavour. He was still on Zardia Prime. "The human awakens," a voice said nearby. The translator made the clicks and chirps sound almost melodic. Jack turned his head slightly and saw a Zarthian medic standing beside what appeared to be his bed. The alien's exoskeleton was a soft white color that seemed to glow faintly in the room's strange light. "Where am I?" Jack asked, his voice rough and weak. "Royal Medical Chamber," the medic replied. "You have been unconscious for 3 Earth days." Memories flooded back. The diplomatic meeting, the assassin, the weapon aimed at Queen Vexala, his leap to intercept the blast, the searing pain. "The Queen?" he asked. "Unharmed, thanks to your actions," the medic said. "She will be informed immediately that you are awake." Jack tried to sit up, but the medic placed a gentle limb on his shoulder. "Please remain still. Your body is still healing. The plasma weapon caused significant internal damage. If not for your protective clothing, you would have died instantly. Jack relaxed back onto the bed. The other humans? Commander Wright, your delegation remains on Zarthia Prime. They have been waiting for you to recover. The commander visits. Daily, the door to the chamber slid open with a soft humming sound. Jack turned to see Queen Vexala enter, flanked by 2 guards. Her exoskeleton was a deep, rich blue that seemed to shimmer with each movement. The medic and the guards immediately lowered their heads in a gesture of respect. The Queen approached Jack's bed and dismissed them with a simple hand motion. They left quickly, leaving Jack alone with the alien ruler. "Lieutenant Jack Mason," the Queen said. "I am pleased to see you awake." "Thank you, Your Majesty," Jack replied, not sure of the proper protocol for addressing the Queen while lying in a bed. "I'm glad to see you're safe." The Queen's large, faceted eyes studied him intently. "You do not understand what you have done, do you?" Jack swallowed nervously. "I was performing my duty as a security officer." Queen Vexala made a sound that his translator didn't catch. It might have been laughter or surprise. "In your culture, perhaps that is all it was," she said. "In ours, it was much more. You have activated the Zelthorin, our most sacred life debt. Tradition. Commander Wright mentioned something about that before I lost consciousness," Jack said. The Queen moved closer, her tall form looming over his bed. "The Zelthorin is ancient, dating back to the earliest days of our civilization. When one willingly takes harm meant for royal blood, they become Zeltha the Fate-Bound One. I now owe you a debt that cannot be broken until either of us dies." Jack felt uncomfortable. "Your Majesty, that's really not necessary. I was just doing my job." "Your intentions do not matter," Queen Vexala said firmly. "The act itself is what counts. You are now Zelther, and that position comes with responsibilities and privileges that no human has ever held." The door opened again, and Commander Olivia Wright entered. Relief washed over her face when she saw Jack awake. "Lieutenant Mason," she said, coming to his bedside. "It's good to see you conscious." "Commander," Jack greeted her. "Apparently, I've caused some kind of diplomatic situation." Olivia's expression confirmed it. "That's putting it mildly. I've been in constant communication with Earth Central. No one expected anything like this. The Zarthians have been extremely accommodating, but they're also very firm about this life debt tradition." Queen Vesala's exoskeleton shifted to include streaks of green. "Commander Wright has been most patient as we explain our customs. However, some things cannot be negotiated. The Zelthorn is one such thing." "What exactly does this mean for me?" Jack asked, looking between the 2 leaders. Queen responded first. "Once you are fully recovered, you will be given quarters in the royal palace. You will be assigned royal guards. You will be taught our language, our customs, our history. You have been granted status equivalent to our highest nobility." Olivia added, "Earth Central is still trying to process the implications. The Zarthians see you as a vital diplomatic link now." "Jack, this life debt has created an unexpected bridge between our species." Jack's head was spinning, and not just from his injuries. "But I'm a lieutenant in Earth's fleet. I have duties, responsibilities. Your status has been complicated," Olivia said carefully. "Admiral Peters has been in talks with the State Department. Technically, you're still an Earth officer, but you've also been appointed as a special envoy to the Zarthian Collective. This is a great honor," Queen Vexala said. "No off-worlder has ever held such a position among our people." Jack struggled to make sense of everything. Yesterday, 3 days ago, he had been a simple security officer. Now he was apparently some kind of alien nobleman with a queen in his debt. "The assassin?" Jack asked, changing the subject. "Captured," the Queen replied. "A member of a small rebel faction that opposes our alliance with Earth. They believed humans would contaminate our culture." Her exoskeleton flickered with amusement. Ironically, their actions have bound our species together more tightly than any treaty could have. A Zarthian medic entered and whispered something to the Queen. "You must rest now," Queen Vexala told. "Jack, the healing process requires more time. We will speak again when you are stronger." As the Queen turned to leave, Jack called out, "Your Majesty? What happens next?" Queen Vexala paused at the doorway. "That depends partly on you, Lieutenant Mason. The life debt is only the beginning. How it unfolds will shape relations between our worlds for generations to come." After the Queen left, Olivia sat beside Jack's bed. "You look overwhelmed," she said. "That's an understatement," Jack replied. "One minute I'm doing my job. The next I'm caught in some alien tradition that apparently changes everything." Olivia nodded sympathetically. "Admiral Peters said to tell you that you've either made the biggest diplomatic breakthrough in human history or created the most complicated mess he's ever seen. He's not sure which yet." Jack managed a weak laugh. "No pressure, then. The medical staff say you'll make a full recovery," Olivia said. "The Zarthian treatments are remarkable. They've accelerated your healing beyond anything our doctors could have achieved." "Another benefit of the life debt?" Jack asked, apparently. "The Queen has assigned her personal physicians to your case." Olivia stood up. "I should let you rest. But Jack, when you're back on your feet, we have a lot to discuss about your new role." After Olivia left, Jack stared at the crystal ceiling, watching the patterns of light shift and change. His life had been completely transformed by a split-second decision. He had acted on instinct, doing what any trained officer would do. Now, he was Zelther, whatever that truly meant, bound by alien tradition to a queen from a species humanity barely understood. As he drifted back to sleep, Jack wondered what his family back on Earth would think. His mother had always said he had a knack for finding trouble. Taking a plasma blast for an alien queen probably qualified. This life debt tradition, whatever it entailed, had only just begun. 2 months passed. Jack walked through the gardens of the royal palace, his steps now steady and strong. His body had healed completely thanks to the advanced Zarthian medical treatments. The gardens were unlike any on Earth, filled with strange plants that glowed softly in various colors. Some moved slightly as if breathing, while others sang quiet melodies when touched by the light breeze. Jack's Zarthian guard, Kexvalum, followed at a respectful distance. Jack had gotten used to never being alone. As Zelther, he always had at least one royal guard with him. At first it had been annoying, but now it felt almost normal. "Lieutenant Mason," a human voice called out. Jack turned to see Dr. Samantha Reeves approaching. She had arrived from Earth 3 weeks ago as part of a cultural exchange team. As a xenanthropologist, her job was to study Zarthian customs and help humans understand them better. "Dr. Reeves?" Jack greeted her. "Just Jack is fine." "I'm not." "Sure, the lieutenant title still applies." "Officially, you're still Lieutenant Mason," Samantha reminded him with a smile. "Though I understand the Zarthians have given you quite a few additional titles." Jack nodded. "Too many to remember. The translators can barely keep up with all the formal ways they address me now." They walked together through the winding garden paths. Kexvalum maintained his distance, but kept them in sight. "How are your Zarthian language lessons going?" Samantha asked. "Better than expected," Jack replied. "The clicks and trills are difficult, but I'm starting to understand without the translator." He demonstrated a simple Zarthian greeting, making a series of clicks with his tongue. Samantha looked impressed. "That's remarkable progress for a human. The Queen must be pleased." "Queen Vexala says my accent is terrible, but my effort is appreciated," Jack said with a small laugh. They reached a bench made of the same crystal-like material that seemed to be used throughout the palace. As they sat down, the bench adjusted. itself to better fit their human bodies. I've been studying the life-debt tradition, Samantha said. It's fascinating. The Zarthians take it extremely seriously. I've noticed, Jack said dryly. It's more than just cultural, Samantha explained. There seems to be a biological component, too. The Queen actually experiences physical discomfort if she believes you're in danger or distress. Jack looked surprised. She never mentioned that. It's considered improper to discuss it openly. But my research suggests the life debt creates a kind of empathic link, especially for royalty. It's written into their genetic memory. Jack thought about the times Queen Vexala had appeared suddenly when he was having a bad day or feeling homesick. He had assumed it was coincidence or good timing. Now it made more sense. That explains a few things, he said. How are you adjusting to all this? Samantha asked, gesturing to the alien surroundings. Jack considered the question carefully. Some days I wake up and can't believe this is my life now. Other days it feels like I've always been here. He paused. I miss Earth sometimes. Simple things like rain that doesn't glow or insects that don't try to have philosophical conversations with you. Samantha laughed. The talking insects took me by surprise, too. A soft chime sounded from Jack's wrist device, a blend of Zarthian and human technology. The Queen requests my presence, he said, standing up. Mind if I tag along? I'm supposed to be documenting these interactions. Jack nodded, and they made their way to the royal chambers. The palace was enormous, with ceilings that stretched up hundreds of feet and corridors that seemed to go on forever. After 2 months, Jack still got lost sometimes. The guards at the Queen's door recognized Jack immediately and stepped aside without question. Inside, Queen Vexala was meeting with several members of her council. When she saw Jack enter, she dismissed them with a gesture. Zelther, she greeted him, her exoskeleton shimmering with blue and gold colors. And Dr. Reeves, please join me. They sat at a small table where a Zarthian servant had placed drinks for them. Jack had learned that sharing drinks was an important part of Zarthian culture. We have received troubling news, the Queen said without preamble. A human mining operation has violated our territorial agreements in the Procyon system. Jack frowned. I wasn't aware of any mining operations in that area. It appears to be a private company acting without proper authorization, Queen Vexala explained. However, many of my advisors are calling for a strong response. Some suggest suspending all trade agreements. Jack understood the seriousness of the situation. The fragile diplomatic relationship between humans and Zarthians could be damaged by one company's actions. What would you suggest, Zelther? The Queen asked. Jack had grown accustomed to the Queen seeking his advice. As her life bound, his opinion carried significant weight. Before making any decisions, we should gather more information, Jack said. I can contact Admiral Peters and request an investigation. If the company is operating without authorization, Earth authorities can handle the situation. Queen Vexala's colors shifted slightly, indicating approval. A measured approach. This is why your perspective is valuable, Jack. My advisors often favor more aggressive responses. Samantha watched the exchange with obvious fascination, taking notes on her tablet. There is another matter, the Queen continued. The annual Hive celebration begins next week. As Zelther, your participation is expected. Jack had heard about the celebration from his cultural tutors. It was a major Zarthian holiday that lasted several days. What would I need to do? He asked cautiously. You will stand beside me during the opening ceremony, Queen Vexala explained. There are specific ritual words you must speak. Your tutors will teach you the proper pronunciation. Jack nodded. I'll do my best not to embarrass either of us. The Queen's colors flickered briefly with what Jack had learned was amusement. Your presence alone will be significant. No off-worlder has ever participated in the Hive celebration. After the meeting, Jack and Samantha walked back through the palace corridors. "Do you realize what just happened?" Samantha asked, her voice excited. "The Queen asked my advice about a diplomatic issue," Jack said. "It happens fairly often now." "Jack, she overruled her council based on your suggestion," Samantha explained. "And she's including you in their most sacred celebration. This goes beyond the formal requirements of the life debt." Jack stopped walking. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying the Queen values you, not just as her Zelther, but as an advisor and possibly a friend." "That's unprecedented." Samantha looked at him seriously. "You're changing how Zarthians view humans, Jack. One conversation at a time." Later that evening, Jack stood on the balcony of his quarters, looking out at the glittering spires of the Zarthian capital city. The 3 moons of Zarthia Prime cast a silvery light over everything. When he had jumped in front of that plasma blast, he never imagined where it would lead. Now he stood between 2 worlds, no longer fully part of either, but perhaps building a bridge between them. The life debt tradition had changed everything, and Jack was beginning to think it might change even more before it was done. Jack stood beside Queen Vexala on the grand platform overlooking the central plaza of the Zarthian capital. The Hive celebration was in its 3rd day, and the city was alive with lights, music, and joyful Zarthians. Thousands of the insectoid aliens filled the plaza below, their exoskeletons shimmering in a rainbow of colors that reflected their excitement. Jack wore ceremonial Zarthian robes modified for his human form. They were surprisingly comfortable and moved like liquid when he walked. Queen Vexala looked even more impressive than usual in her royal attire, her tall form radiating authority and grace. "You have done well, Zelther," the Queen said quietly. "Your pronunciation of the ritual words was nearly perfect." "I practiced for hours," Jack admitted. "I didn't want to accidentally say something offensive." The Queen's colors shifted in what Jack now recognized as amusement. "The last phrase you spoke translates roughly to, 'May our eggs be plentiful.' Not entirely appropriate for a human, but the sentiment is appreciated." Jack felt his face grow warm with embarrassment. His tutor had not explained that particular phrase. A group of Zarthian performers moved through the crowd below, creating complex patterns with their bodies while emitting musical tones from specialized organs in their throats. The effect was both beautiful and alien. "Your people seem to be enjoying themselves," Jack observed. "The Hive celebration reminds us of our shared heritage and common future," Queen Vexala explained. "It is a time when differences are set aside, and unity is celebrated." Jack thought about the meaning behind the festival. "We have similar celebrations on Earth, different names and customs, but the same basic idea. Perhaps our species are not so different after all," the Queen said thoughtfully. A Zarthian messenger approached the platform and bowed deeply before speaking urgently to one of the royal advisors. The advisor quickly moved to the Queen's side and whispered something that made her exoskeleton flash with dark colors Jack had never seen before. "What's wrong?" Jack asked, immediately concerned. Queen Vexala turned to him, her faceted eyes intense. "We must leave the celebration. Come with me." They moved quickly through a private corridor behind the platform, accompanied by royal guards. Jack sensed the tension, but waited until they reached a secure room in the palace before asking questions. Admiral Peter's face appeared on a large screen as they entered. The human officer looked grave. "Lieutenant Mason," he greeted Jack. "Your Majesty." He nodded respectfully to the Queen. "What's happening, Admiral?" Jack asked. "We've detected multiple ships entering the Procyon system," Admiral Peters said. "They're Vrex vessels." Jack had been briefed about the Vrex during his diplomatic education. They were a hostile species known for stripping planets of resources and leaving nothing behind. "How many ships?" Queen Vexala asked. At least 15, including what appears to be 3 Dreadnought-class warships, the Admiral replied. They're heading directly for the human mining colonies. Jack felt a chill. How many people are on those colonies? Approximately 8,000. Civilians, Admiral Peters said grimly. We're dispatching ships, but the nearest fleet is 4 days away. The Vrex will arrive in less than 2. Queen Vexala's council members had gathered in the room, their exoskeletons showing various shades of alarm and concern. This is not our concern, stated Council Elder Zixvin, his translator making his clicks sound harsh. The Procyon system is not within our protected space. We have no formal defense alliance with humans. 8,000 lives are at stake, Jack argued. Many more Zarthian lives would be at risk if we engaged the Vrex, another council member countered. We have no obligation to intervene. Queen Vexala had remained silent, her color shifting between various shades as she considered the situation. Finally, she turned to Jack. What would you have us do, Zelther? She asked. Jack was surprised by the question. This was a major military decision, not the kind of thing she usually consulted him about. Those are my people, he said simply. If you can help them, I ask that you do. The council erupted in objections, their clicks and trills too fast for the translators to keep up. Silence, the Queen commanded, and the room immediately fell quiet. Jack Mason is Zelther. By our oldest traditions, his request carries weight. Council Elder Zixvin stepped forward. Even the Zelther cannot commit our forces to battle without proper consideration. This is not a simple matter of honor. Jack thought quickly. During his cultural studies, he had learned about ancient Zarthian laws and traditions. There might be a way. As Zelther, Jack said formally, I invoke the right of Vexthara. The room went completely still. Even Queen Vexala's colors froze in place. You know of this, right? She asked, sounding surprised. Jack nodded. The right of Vexthara allows the lifebound to request protection for their bloodline in times of great danger. Council Elder Zixvin's colors flashed angrily. This applies only to direct family members, not an entire species. What is your bloodline, Zelther Mason? Queen Vexala asked formally. Jack stood tall, facing the Queen directly. Humanity is my bloodline. The council exploded into arguments again. Some called his claim ridiculous. Others said it was an abuse of tradition. Through it all, Queen Vexala watched Jack with an unreadable expression. Admiral Peters, still on the screen, looked confused by the proceedings, but remained silent. Finally, Queen Vexala raised a limb for silence. The Zelther has invoked an ancient right, while his interpretation is creative. The spirit of the law is clear. The lifebound may call for protection of their kin. Your Majesty, protested Zixvin, you cannot possibly consider all humans to be his kin. Can I not? The Queen countered. Would you have me draw an arbitrary line? Define for me exactly where his bloodline ends, Elder Zixvin. The Elder had no immediate response. Queen Vexala turned back to the screen. Admiral Peters, the Zarthian. Defense fleet will depart within the hour. We will reach Procyon before the Vrex arrive. Jack could barely believe what he was hearing. The Admiral looked equally stunned. Your Majesty, Admiral Peters said, Earth thanks you. This action will not be forgotten. After the Admiral signed off, the council members departed, many still clicking in disagreement. Queen Vexala and Jack were left alone in the room. Thank you, Jack said simply. The Queen's colors had settled into a calm blue. You have learned our ways well, Zelther. Perhaps too well. There was no anger in her voice, only a hint of amusement. I couldn't let those people die if there was something I could do, Jack explained. I understand, Queen Vexala moved toward the door. I must prepare our fleet. The Vrex are dangerous opponents. I want to come with you, Jack said quickly. The Queen paused. That would be unwise. The life-bound should remain safe. Those are my people, Jack insisted. If Zarthian ships are going to fight for them because of me, I should be there. Queen Vexala studied him for a long moment. Very well, but you will remain on the command ship, away from direct combat. As they walked through the palace corridors toward the military wing, Jack realized how far things had come. What had started as a simple security assignment had led to this moment, a Zarthian fleet mobilizing to protect human colonies because he had taken a plasma blast meant for their queen. The life debt tradition had created something no diplomat could have negotiated, a queen willing to risk her people to save his, and Jack knew this was still just the beginning. The massive Zarthian command ship exited jump space near Procyon, followed by 20 warships that spread out in perfect formation. Jack stood on the bridge beside Queen Vexala, watching the view screen as the ships moved into defensive positions. Around the human mining colonies, they had arrived just in time. The sensors showed the Vrex fleet approaching from the opposite side of the system, still 12 hours away. Open a channel to the main colony, Queen Vexala ordered. The face of a surprised human woman appeared on the screen. This is Captain Susan Bell, Colony Defense Force. We were expecting Earthships, not Zarthian vessels. Captain Bell, I am Queen Vexala of the Zarthian Collective, the Queen said formally. We have come to defend your colonies against the Vrex threat. Captain Bell looked confused. I don't understand. We have no defense agreement with the Zarthian Collective. Jack stepped forward where she could see him. Captain, I'm Lieutenant Jack Mason of Earthfleet. The Zarthians are here because of me. Mason? Bell's eyes widened in recognition. You're the officer who took the hit for the Queen. There were news reports about you. That's right, Jack confirmed. It's a long story, but the Queen has mobilized her fleet to protect the colonies. The Vrex will be here in 12 hours. We need to prepare. The next hours were a blur of activity. Jack helped coordinate between the Zarthian commanders and the human colonists. Evacuation ships were readied for the most vulnerable civilians, while others were moved to underground shelters. The small colony defense force, consisting of only 3 outdated patrol ships, was integrated into the Zarthian battle plan. Admiral Peters called from the approaching Earth fleet. We're pushing our engines to the limit, but we're still at least 30 hours out. Can the Zarthians hold that long? We will know soon enough, Queen Vexala replied. The Vrex have never faced our weapons before. As the Vrex fleet came into visual range, Jack felt a chill. Their ships were dark, angular vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The 3 massive dreadnoughts at the center of their formation were each nearly twice the size of the Zarthian command ship. They are hailing us, a Zarthian communications officer reported. On screen, the Queen commanded. The alien that appeared was unlike anything Jack had seen before. The Vrex had a gray, leathery hide with multiple small eyes clustered around a central mouth filled with needle-like teeth. Zarthians, the Vrex commander hissed through a translator. This system is not yours. Why do you block our path? Queen. Vexala's exoskeleton shifted to a deep, authoritative blue. These colonies are under our protection. Leave this system immediately. The Vrex made a sound that might have been laughter. We do not recognize your claim. These are human settlements, not Zarthian. Move aside or be destroyed with them. The humans are under our protection by right of Zeltharon, the Queen stated firmly. Any attack against them is an attack against the Zarthian Collective. The Vrex commander's eyes blinked in sequence. Your traditions mean nothing to us. You have 1 hour to withdraw. The communication ended abruptly. "They will not leave," the Zarthian battle commander stated. "Evrex never abandon a target once chosen." Queen Vexala turned to Jack. "This will be a difficult battle. The Vrex have superior numbers and firepower." Jack felt a weight of responsibility. All these Zarthian lives were at risk because of him. "Maybe I was wrong to ask this of you." The Queen's colors shifted subtly. "No, Zelther. Your invocation." Of the rite of Vexthara was unusual, but not wrong. Some traditions must evolve to remain meaningful. The hour passed quickly. When the deadline arrived, the Vrex ships began to move forward. "All ships, defensive positions," the battle commander ordered. "Protect the colonies at all costs." The space around Procyon erupted in battle. Zarthian vessels moved with incredible coordination, their energy weapons carving bright paths through the darkness. The Vrex responded with overwhelming firepower, focusing on breaking through to the colonies. On the command ship, Jack watched tensely as the battle unfolded. The Zarthians were skilled, but the Vrex had numbers on their side. Slowly, the defensive line began to buckle. "We cannot hold them much longer," the battle commander reported as another Zarthian ship exploded in a flash of light. Jack's mind raced. There had to be something they could do. Then he remembered something from his briefings about the Vrex. "Your Majesty," he said urgently, "the Vrex ships are connected to their commander through a quantum network. If we can disrupt the flagship's command systems, it might confuse the entire fleet." Queen Vexala considered this. "How would you suggest we do this?" "A colony has experimental EMP devices designed for mining operations," Jack explained. "If we can get close enough to the Vrex flagship and detonate them, it might work." The Queen made a decision quickly. "Battle Commander, prepare our fastest ship. Load the human devices and target the Vrex flagship." Within minutes, a sleek Zarthian vessel broke from the defensive line, accelerating toward the largest Vrex dreadnought. It weaved through enemy fire, taking hits but continuing its desperate run. "They've reached the optimal position," the tactical officer reported. "Detonate the devices," Queen Vexala ordered. A flash of electromagnetic energy washed over the Vrex flagship. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, the Vrex ships began to move erratically, their coordinated attack falling into chaos. "It worked!" Jack exclaimed. "All ships attack now," the battle commander ordered. The Zarthian fleet surged forward, taking advantage of the confusion. Within hours, the Vrex fleet was in full retreat, having lost nearly half their vessel's dot as the last Vrex ship jumped away. Cheers erupted across the command bridge. Jack felt relief wash over him. The colonies were safe. Captain Bell's face appeared on the screen again. "On behalf of all colonists, thank you. We owe you our lives." "Thank your fellow human," Queen Vexala said, gesturing to Jack. "It was for him that we came." 6 weeks later, Jack stood in the great hall of the Zarthian palace. Representatives from Earth and Zarthia gathered to witness the signing of the first formal alliance between the two species. Admiral Peters and other high-ranking Earth officials sat on one side, with the Zarthian consul on the other. Queen Vexala approached the central table where the treaty documents waited. She wore her most formal attire, her exoskeleton shimmering with blues and golds. "Today we formalize what began with a single act of courage," she announced to the assembly. "When Lieutenant Jack Mason took a plasma blast meant for me, he did more than save a queen. He began a new chapter in the relationship between our worlds." Jack, dressed in a uniform that combined elements of Earth fleet and Zarthian design, stood nearby. He still found it hard to believe that his instinctive action had led to this moment. The Queen continued. "The life debt tradition began as a personal obligation, but it has grown into something greater. Today, we extend the spirit of Zeltharan to all our peoples." After the signing ceremony, Admiral Peters approached Jack. "You've accomplished more for human-Zarthian relations in a few months than our diplomats managed in years." Jack smiled. "I just took a hit meant for someone else." Everything that followed was because of traditions that were already in place. "Sometimes," the Admiral said, "being in the right place at the right time changes everything." Later, Jack stood on his favorite palace balcony, looking out at the Zarthian capital. Queen Vexala joined him there. "What happens now, Zelther?" she asked. Jack looked at the stars visible in the night sky. "The Joint Exploration Fleet launches next month. Earth and Zardia, working together to chart new systems. And you will command the human contingent," the Queen stated. Jack nodded. "If you can spare your Zelther for such a mission." Queen Vexala's colors shifted to a warm golden hue. "The life debt tradition binds us together, Jack Mason. But what has grown between our peoples goes beyond ancient customs. It is something new and valuable." Jack thought about everything that had brought him to this moment. A diplomatic mission, an assassin's weapon, a split-second decision to protect someone else. The life debt tradition had only been the beginning. What followed would change the galaxy forever.